Travel consideration provided by...
Before using Olea, my hair color was less vibrant. I had to rescue it.
Olea, hair color powered by 60% oils, no ammonia.
The color is really rich,
And it looks healthier than before I colored it.
my hair is happy right now.
Olea by Garnier Naturally.
Well, here's a good way to celebrate Juneteenth. Watch The Black Godfather right now on Netflix. It's phenomenal. It's produced by...
Happening now.
Civil rights attorneys calling for action amid alarming statistics involving deaths while in San Antonio police custody. Coming up, Devin Clark tells us why the San Antonio Police Officers Association says those numbers may be skewed.
The nation commemorates Juneteenth. I'm Nadia Romero at the White House. I'll explain the holiday and how the president is preparing for his rally tomorrow.
A moment of solidarity on Juneteenth at Our Lady of the Lake University. How the university is commemorating the life of George Floyd.
And we have some activity to watch on the radar screen. We'll take a close look at that, talk about the weekend rain chances and when that African dust will arrive, coming right up.
And if you have kids at home, check your medicine cabinets. 2 popular cough medicines have now been recalled. The News at 5 starts right now. First at 5, the San Antonio Law Enforcement Accountability Project and the Coalition for Police Reform and Accountability say the collective bargaining agreement between the city and the San Antonio Police Department is flawed. They're saying it's because 70% of police officers who are fired get their jobs back through arbitration.
As Devin Clark explained, civil rights attorneys are trying to create a referendum to do away with the agreement and bring major change to the police department.
The numbers are disturbing.
We have a very high custodial death rate in San Antonio.
Civil rights attorney Edward Pena says over the past 10 years, 106 people have died in San Antonio police custody.
And I don't mean in jail, I don't mean at a hospital, I mean in police custody at the point of arrest or in the vehicle.
But San Antonio Police Officer Association President Mike Helly questions the numbers and their representation of possible police brutality.
You're inside your apartment and we get a call for shots fired. I knock on the door. Boom, you kill yourself. That's an in custody death.
Pena mentioned the 2015 case of Norman Cooper and the 2013 case of Jesse Aguirre, both men who he says died after being handcuffed and had the weight of officers pressed on their necks or backs, similar to George Floyd.
They put weight on your back, they kneel on your back, they're pressing on the back of your head. Well, those things are going to kill you. You know, they know that.
Helly says in every case of custodial death within the SAPD, an intricate investigation is conducted, and so far, no officer has been found culpable.
Their perception might be that these are the causations of the person that passed away, but it may not be the reality of why they passed away.
Though Helly says any officer found guilty of wrongdoing should be held accountable. Both Cooper and Aguirre's cases are pending. Meanwhile, Pena says that the current collective bargaining agreement is beyond reform and the entire SAPD must be reimagined. Right now, he and other attorneys are working on a referendum to bring those changes forward. Devin Clark, KSAT 12 News.
New information on the search for 20-year-old Elijah Scott. 4 days after he was reported missing, San Antonio police have confirmed Scott, who had a medical condition, was found dead. They did not release details of his death, but did say they do not suspect foul play.
A public visitation is going to be held for fallen Bexar County Sheriff's Deputy Timothy De La Fuente next week. The Sheriff's Office is hosting the service at Mission Park Funeral Chapel South off Southeast Military Drive on Wednesday, June 24th. De La Fuente died of COVID-19 complications back in April. You can find more information on KSAT.com.
San Antonio police need your help identifying 2 people believed to have witnessed a murder last week. Here's a closer look at their photos. The vehicle in the picture has a license plate in the windshield on the front passenger side. It's a white 4-door 2011 to 2014 Chrysler Sebring. Police believe they may have information about a murder that happened on the 13th of June in the 4000 block of Vance Jackson Road. If you have any information in this case or who these people are, contact SAPD at 210-207-7635.
A 42-year-old woman now facing charges after police say she shot a man in his ankle yesterday evening. It happened at a home on Joe Banks and Southwest 36th Street on the west side. Officers found the man injured in his backyard. Before he was taken to the hospital, he told them 42-year-old Petra Garza was the suspect, and he gave officers her address. When officers arrived to that address, they heard Garza telling another man she had shot someone. She was arrested on a charge of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and felon in possession of a firearm.
In New at 5, a local veterans hospital says it has the highest number of COVID-19 cases in the entire VA healthcare system. The Audie L. Murphy Memorial Veterans Hospital currently has 18 patients admitted for the virus. They say all are in stable condition. However, the hospital is asking the public to continue taking safety precautions to help stop the spread of the virus. And be sure to tune in to the news at 6 for the latest update on COVID-19 in San Antonio. The mayor and the county judge have called a briefing for today. That new briefing is tonight around 6:13.
Arts funding in San Antonio could be looking at a big hit next year. In a trial budget yesterday, city staff showed that the Department of Arts and Culture could be looking at a 33% drop from what the council passed last year. The department's director doesn't know exactly how that will affect all of the nonprofit art agencies it helps, but it will mean less money to go around.
We mostly fund the operations, meaning the salaries of the basic staff that are there, their rent, their utilities, their services that they may have to pay for.
Coming up at 6 o'clock, hear from a trio of arts organizations about what a loss of funding would mean for the arts of San Antonio.
It is Juneteenth, and today millions of Americans across the country celebrating a very important piece of history. On June 19th, 1865, the last enslaved African Americans in Galveston learned they were free.
The news came to them 2 years after President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. Today, people here in San Antonio spent part of their afternoon marching from Pittman Sullivan Park to Martin Luther King Park. It's just one of several events scheduled today to remember the emancipation. This year, the Juneteenth holiday has new significance and a bigger spotlight after worldwide protests highlighting racial injustice.
But as the country celebrates, the president prepares to attend a campaign rally in Tulsa, the site of one of the most vicious attacks of racial violence in American history. Nadia Romero joins us live from the White House with more. Nadia.
Well, Steve, Juneteenth has been celebrated in different parts of the country since 155 years ago. But the president says in a recent interview that he just learned about Juneteenth from a black Secret Service agent. And that's why the president said he pushed back his rally from Juneteenth to Saturday. Crowds gather to commemorate Juneteenth, the oldest national celebration of the end of slavery. Initially, President Trump decided to jumpstart his re-election campaign with a rally on Juneteenth in Tulsa, a city with a painful past.
He didn't know what Juneteenth stood for and all the lives that were lost, and especially the lives that were lost here.
In 1921, a white mob killed as many as 300 African Americans and burned down an affluent community known as Black Wall Street.
Not one person was ever charged with a crime from the worst race massacre in American history.
After widespread criticism, President Trump pushed his rally to Saturday. But while people planned to protest his visit, his supporters lined up outside the venue days in advance, hoping to secure a seat.
I just love the president.
The Trump campaign says more than 1 million people signed up to attend the rally. It's expected to be the biggest indoor event since coronavirus crippled the country.
It's beyond exciting.
Tulsa County has the most COVID-19 cases in Oklahoma. The Trump campaign says it will conduct temperature checks and provide hand sanitizer and masks. Still, health officials fear the rally may be a super spreader of the deadly virus and worry about the promotion of politics amid a pandemic.
Watch the president on television. You'll be safe at home. Do not go.
President Trump will enter that rally at capacity. Nearly 20,000 people expected to be in attendance. Now, there will be temperature checks, hand sanitizer, and face masks available, but not mandatory or required. And there will be no social distancing. Live from the White House, I'm Nadia Romero. Steve and Ursula, back to you.
And Nadia, another big subject that's still resonating today is yesterday's Supreme Court ruling on DACA. How is the Trump administration reacting to that ruling, and how is this putting immigration kind of back into the forefront of what certainly will be a contentious campaign?
Well, Steve, President Trump tweeted today saying that the administration is working on submitting enhanced papers, so submitting more paperwork to the courts to fight against DACA again. And remember, this was one of President Trump's big campaign promises back in 2016. He told his supporters if elected, he would get rid of DACA and deport the some 700,000 Dreamers. So we can see that the administration is continuing with those efforts. We're also hearing from Joe Biden, who says if elected on day one, he would work to find a permanent solution for those Dreamers. Steve?
Nadia Romero reporting live from the White House. Thank you, Nadia.
Our Lady of the Lake University holding a moment of solidarity inside its Sacred Heart Chapel this morning. The 8-minute and 46-second moment of silence meant to honor George Floyd as well as Juneteenth. The university also announced the George Floyd Memorial Scholarship named in his honor.
Weeks of unrest and calls for justice reaching a turning point in the shooting death of Breonna Taylor. Today, Louisville Mayor Greg Fisher announced one of the 3 officers involved in her death is being fired. Officer Brett Hankinson, accused of blindly firing 10 shots into Taylor's apartment back on March 13th after making a no-knock entry.
Mayor Fisher had previously said he was unable to take action in the case. Taylor's family says today's announcement shows otherwise, and they hope the other officers are held accountable. Right now, they're on administrative assignment. Check your cabinets. There's a nationwide recall underway. It's a voluntary recall for 2 popular cough medicines: Children's Robitussin Honey Cough and Chest Congestion DM and Children's Dimetapp Cold and Cough. The recall is related to a potential overdose risk because the wrong size dosing cups were put in these packages. It includes bottles sold between February and the beginning of June. If you have the medicine, you can check the lot number on FDA.gov.
We have bright sunshine over the Alamo City right now, but some good vertical development to those clouds. You know, I like to see that because that means there could be some pop-up showers out there, and that's what we have in some places, but not a lot of us are really getting in on that rain. Right now, temperatures, just like the past few days, some 90s, a few upper 80s. Seguin, for example, at 88, Bulverde 89. But check this out. Mike's backyard, New Braunfels, 0.05 of an inch of rain. That's right, we had a little downpour there. Here's the radar lapse over the past 3 hours. You can see we had a quick little pop-up downpour over New Braunfels, and then also along the coastal plain, we've got some decent activity. It's having a hard time really sustaining itself, but DeWitt County has really been a good hot spot for some downpours today, even a little bit of lightning and thunder, and round 2 coming just west of Cuero at the moment. We'll be back to talk more about the weekend forecast, our rain chances ahead, and when this African dust plume is likely to get here. I'll have that update coming up.
Thank you, Adam. So, someone in your house tests positive for COVID-19. Keeping them isolated and away from others is key to preventing further spread. But up next, Marilyn Moritz explains how you should handle their laundry, too. As COVID-19 continues to affect more families, it's time to figure out who would you want to handle the laundry if someone in your home tested positive. 12 on your side's Marilyn Moritz has some simple but important steps to keep you healthy.
If you're living with someone infected with COVID-19, something as routine as laundry deserves extra care. First, Consumer Report says keep any contaminated laundry in a separate bin.
We don't know exactly how long this coronavirus survives on fabrics or clothes, but researchers think that it's possible the virus can remain infectious on clothes for hours or even days. So for any clothes that may have been exposed to the virus, consider those contaminated and keep those in a separate laundry bin.
If you have disposable gloves, use them.
If you don't have gloves, you can absolutely do the laundry with your bare hands. And just be sure to wash your hands thoroughly afterward, whether or not you have gloves.
You can wash the laundry of a COVID-19 patient as you normally would. Experts say no special detergent or bleach is needed, but use the warmest appropriate water temperature and dry completely. Remember to disinfect surfaces that may have been contaminated, like the doorknobs and pulls. And if you're using a shared laundry facility, disinfect surfaces before you touch them. And most important,
your chances of getting the virus from someone else directly are much higher than getting the virus from a surface. So the most important thing is to stay at least 6 feet away from anyone else.
And when you're done, wash your hands. Marilyn Moritz, KSAT 12 News.
You know, nothing says summer like a trip to that water park. SeaWorld and Six Flags officially open for the season. And yesterday we learned about some of SeaWorld's new safety precautions to help with social distancing at the park. You can read more information right now on KSAT.com.
You're going to have to dodge maybe a shower or two as you run around outside. Sky 12 over the Tower of the Americas. It's a pretty day out there. And then every once in a while, we just get hit with some rain.
Yeah, and it's not just exclusive to the afternoon. We get a few little light sprinkles with our morning overcast as well. But right now you can see over downtown just a lot of sunshine. Our weather headlines, a few downpours out there now on the radar screen. We'll take a close look at those in a moment. More daily rain chances coming down the pike as well. And then the African dust is likely to arrive early next week on Tuesday. All right, let's take a look at the radar. We'll start with that, then we'll jump into the dust and the weekend forecast as well. Currently, most of the downpours now are right along the coastal plain, southeast of San Antonio. But even when you get into Webb County near Laredo, they have a few downpours. So Lavaca County right along 77 south of Hallettsville, some good downpours, a little bit of lightning and thunder there. So you may be able to hear it, and you can definitely see it from Hallettsville, the towering cumulonimbus, but otherwise you're not getting any of that rain. It's starting to break apart before it gets into the city of Hallettsville. Then you get down into the Cuero area. Cuero just got clipped, and western DeWitt County seen another round of downpours. Locally, we don't have much to speak of. Even south of town, that's all coming to an end and falling apart. And we had a few sneak in southeastern Bexar County here near Bronig Lake and Calaveras Lake, but that activity has come to an end. So I think from here on out, it's going to be hard to really sustain a lot of these showers. We'll still have a few of them just widely separated, but overall not a whole lot in terms of those showers and downpours for the rest of the evening. And the sky's going to clear out for now, but we could get some of these high clouds from the storms over Mexico. Those high clouds like to move into town during the evening hours. And we're of course going to keep a close eye on the activity around Big Bend, because that sometimes can come together and unexpectedly even make its way into Val Verde County. And we'll watch that through the evening. But cross your fingers if you're in Val Verde County. It would be nice to get some of that. Here's where we have the severe weather. This is up in North Texas, just north of San Angelo, Lubbock area, up toward Amarillo, through parts of the Panhandle. That's where we have the potential for severe weather. Now, if we're lucky, a complex of storms could come together, drop southward, obviously weaken before it makes it here, but maybe give us some leftover showers tonight in the hill country. I think that's unlikely, though, very unlikely. There's that slight chance, but it's low. Upper level high not parked directly overhead, which is good because it keeps that alleyway open for little disturbances, and also just for these pop-up showers. It gives them a better chance as well when that upper high is displaced over Mexico. So going forward this weekend through pretty much all of next week, we're looking at about a 20 to 30% chance every day. So the coverage will be about 20 to 30% of South Texas. All right, let's talk about the African dust, the Saharan air layer. There's that big, thick, dense plume we've been talking about for several days. It's out over the Atlantic, but we're starting to get closer in time to when this should arrive here into Texas and, of course, San Antonio. And right now it looks like second half of the day on Tuesday is when the first little bit of that dust should make it overhead, and then it could get a little bit thicker as we get into Thursday. So I'm going to play this for you one more time. Here we go through the weekend. Just fine. No issues over the weekend. Monday, just fine. It's later on Tuesday through the remainder of next week when we should have more of that dust in the air. And for a lot of people, it just adds a little extra haze to the sky and doesn't really affect you, but some folks are very sensitive to it. Maybe you get itchy eyes or runny nose, and if you have any respiratory issues, bad asthma, or even if you have any lung transplants. I met somebody who did, and it's very important to keep an eye on that dust. Otherwise, it just gives you the colorful sunrises and sunsets. 90 degrees right now. For the most part, we're in the 90s out there, and temperatures will be falling through the 80s this evening, then down into the mid-70s by early tomorrow morning. And we'll start all weekend in the mid-70s with afternoons in the 90s and a mixture of sun and clouds. So really just an extension of what we've had, and no big changes into next week either, except for the addition of that dust, where if we get any downpours, could give us some of those muddy downpours.
Muddy rain.
Something to keep in mind.
Oh, I remember that. Thank you, Adam.
All right, he's a new Cowboy, and he wants something more from Jerry Jones than just a contract.
Some people out there want to know why Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones hasn't spoken publicly about what's going on in the world right now. Well, one of his new players, Gerald McCoy, wants Jerry to speak out about social injustice. Plus, the NBA is honoring Juneteenth. Coming up.
Pro football coverage, powered by Davis Law Firm.
The NFL is closed today, recognizing Juneteenth as a holiday. Multiple NFL teams have since followed the league and will make Juneteenth a permanent company holiday moving forward, including the Dallas Cowboys. Their employees will get the day off as a paid holiday. The increased attention toward Juneteenth coincides with nationwide protests against racial injustice that were sparked by George Floyd's killing by a white policeman last month in Minneapolis. Now, 2 weeks ago, the Cowboys released a video calling for social justice, but team owner Jerry Jones was not a part of the video. In fact, he's been quiet on this issue. One of his offseason additions, Gerald McCoy, went on ESPN's First Take today and said he wants Jerry to speak up.
When you have a franchise as recognizable as the Cowboys, people listen when they speak up. And the owner, Jerry Jones, who is one of the most recognizable figures in sports history, when he speaks, everybody listens. Well, I think at this point in time, I feel it would be great to hear him say something positive or say anything. You know, I love what he's been to the sport. He's been excellent to the sport of football. He's a Hall of Famer. But at this point, it's bigger than football. We need him to speak up about life. This is about human beings and equal rights. And that's not what's happening. And it would be great to hear him say something,
Gerald, I
anything.
The Texans, Giants, Eagles, and Redskins are among the many NFL teams to observe Juneteenth as a holiday. And the NBA is also honoring Juneteenth by giving league employees paid time off on Juneteenth for the first time in league history, with the opportunity to use the day to pause, further educate themselves, and reflect on both the history and the current state of race in our country. And nearly every NBA and WNBA team will observe Juneteenth as an organizational holiday.
Thank you, Larry.
You got it.
We'll be right back.
All right, looking ahead to the weekend, mornings in the 70s, afternoons in the mid-90s, and humid. Some more stray pop-up downpours developing here and there throughout the entire weekend and even into next week. And by the way, that African dust should arrive at some point late Tuesday, and stick around then.
Goody.
Something to look forward to. Thank you, Adam. And thank you for watching the news at 5.
World News up next. We'll see you back here at 6 o'clock.